Miller. He'll share with us about the updated EB-5 program. Welcome on stage, Mr. Lawyer Nicolai Hinrichsen.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nicolai Hinrichsen, and I am the managing partner of Miller Mayer's renowned EB-5 immigration law practice. I'm really delighted to be here today to talk to you about the EB-5 immigration program. I'm particularly happy to be back in Vietnam. I actually lived in Vietnam for 2 years, right over in Thao Dien. I left at the end of 2022, but I have the fondest memories of living in your wonderful country. So it's great to be back. Miller Mayer and Kornova have been working together for a very long time, helping families like yourselves achieve their immigration dreams. And I'm really happy to be participating in today's event where they are presenting a project that will allow you to potentially do the same. Realize your immigration dreams to move to the United States. Miller Mayer was established way back in 1985. We've been around for a very long time. We're headquartered in a town called Ithaca, New York. You might have heard of it because it's home to one of the most famous universities in the United States, Cornell University, one of the very famous Ivy League schools. We do all sorts of immigration law in addition to EB-5, so we represent clients in both non-immigrant and immigrant visa petitions in both family-based and employment-based categories. We have been recognized by many organizations for the accomplishments that we have in EB-5. Let's see, this is the wrong slide. Is this the steps? Benefits, okay. So the benefits of EB-5 are significant. The visa category allows a principal investor and their dependent spouse and unmarried children under 21 to obtain the right to live and work in the United States. You can live anywhere you want in the U.S. It doesn't have to be where the project is located, although this project is located in Miami, so it may be worth considering whether you want to live there. It's a lovely place. There's no English language requirement, so even though you become an owner of a company that's investing in the project, you don't have any day-to-day management experience. Your kids can attend school as green card holders and don't need to obtain an F visa to do so. And as green card holders, your kids are probably also eligible, if they're going to university, for financial aid that they certainly would not be eligible for if they were just F visa holders. I can attest to this. I was actually a green card holder. I was born in Denmark and moved to the United States in 1977 and went to the University of California at Berkeley. And I got lots of financial aid because I was a green card holder. I wouldn't have gotten any of that financial aid had I been just an F student. So you can save a lot of money if your kids are of college age by becoming green card holders. In addition, depending on how long you live in the state that your kids are going to attend school in, they may become eligible for in-state tuition. So that's another way that you might be able to save significant money on your kids' education. You can become a citizen after 5 years. You don't have to become a citizen, it's optional, but if you choose to become a citizen, you can petition for your parents to move to the United States. And that's done under something called a direct family petition, an immediate family petition. There's no numerical limit, so there's no limit like there is in other visa categories for immigrant visas. It's just a matter of filing the petition. It takes about a year, and then your parents could be living with you in the United States as green card holders. Now, we've been recognized by many organizations for our accomplishments in EB-5 and immigration law generally. Our immigration practice was started by a man named Stephen Yale Lair. He's probably one of the most famous immigration attorneys in the United States. Steve is a professor of law at Cornell University. He also publishes a 20-volume immigration law treatise that's used by most immigration attorneys and has even been cited multiple times by the U.S. Supreme Court. Steve has presented and testified before the United States Congress on immigration issues and on EB-5 issues. And he is the founder of IIUSA, which is the largest trade association that advocates on behalf of the EB-5 industry in the United States. I am a member of IIUSA's Public Policy Committee, and our committee looks at EB-5 legislation and tries to improve the EB-5 program through outreach with various government agencies. I've also been recognized by EB-5 Investor Magazine 3 years in a row as one of the top 25 EB-5 attorneys working in the industry. Steve is a lot more famous than I am, I have to admit. He's quoted almost on a daily basis in major media outlets in the United States and around the world. And as you can see here, he regularly appears on television. Now, Miller-Mayer has been involved in the EB-5 industry since the very beginning of the program, way back in the 1990s. And to date, we have filed over 7,000 I-526 petitions, which by volume probably makes us the largest EB-5 law firm in the world. Those 7,000 petitions have translated into over 12,000 green cards for individual investors and their family members. And because we process so many petitions, we have a very good sense of what USCIS requires to approve those petitions. We're able to see current adjudication trends and changes in the way that USCIS views evidence from around the world, and including evidence from Vietnam, of course. We have many clients from Vietnam. And you can see that knowledge reflected in our high approval rates. We have almost 100% approval rate for the I-526 petition and 100% for the I-829 petition. Now, the EB-5 program has been around for a very long time. I mentioned that it was started in the 1990s. And the U.S. Congress, they really like the EB-5 program. Both Democrats and Republicans, which are the two political parties in the United States, really like EB-5. It's done a lot of good things for the United States. But they wanted to improve EB-5 and really take it to the next level. No significant changes had been made in the program since it started in the 1990s. And so in March of 2022, they passed the EB-5 Reform and Integrity Act. We call it the RIA. The RIA made some great changes to the EB-5 program, and for all of you sitting here thinking of EB-5, I think that's one of the reasons it's the best time to come into EB-5. First of all, the RIA extended the program by until September 30th, 2027, by 5 years. It also created a lot more oversight and reporting obligations on people that participate in EB-5. The idea with that is to make the EB-5 program safer and more transparent for new investors like yourselves. It also created some grandfathering protections. So if you submit a petition and the EB-5 program were to lapse again, which happened previously in the program, USCIS is still obligated to adjudicate your petition. The program created 3 new set-aside categories, and those are very important for new investors. In fact, they're only available to new investors. So all of the old investors in EB-5 are now in a category called an unreserved category, but for you, new investors, you can take the visas in EB-5, a certain percentage of those 10,000 EB-5 visas that are available every year are now reserved in 3 categories. There's a rural category that takes 20% of those visas, a high unemployment category that takes 10%, and an infrastructure visa that takes 2%. The final thing that the RIA did that's really exciting is it created something called concurrent filing. It used to be the case that you could only derive an immigration benefit from the EB-5 petition, it's called an I-526 petition, until it was approved. But with concurrent filing, that's different. Now you can actually get very significant immigration benefits even before the I-526 is approved. And to explain that, I have this graph here. So this shows the steps involved in the EB-5 process. The first step on the far left is filing the I-526 petition. Now that petition essentially consists of 2 parts. One part is a little bit of information about the project that you're investing into. And the second part is information about how you made the money to make that investment. The United States government wants to make sure that the money that you're using to get a green card has been lawfully obtained. And this is essentially a 2-part analysis. The USCIS wants to know the source of your funds. How was the EB-5 money earned? And then they want to know the path of the funds. How did that money move from the source all the way until it's invested in the EB-5 project? And if you have time after today's seminar or later, you can make a reservation and talk to some of the Kornova immigration experts about how best to structure that. There are a lot of different ways to do it, and with Miller Mayer and Kornova's expertise, we can help you find the best way. So you file the I-526, and as I said earlier, it used to be that you had to wait for it to be approved before you could get any benefit. But if you're in the United States in valid non-immigrant status, so let's say you're a student studying at university, so you're in the U.S. in valid non-immigrant status, and a visa is immediately available, which it is right now for Vietnam. There's no wait line or what we call retrogression for visas. Then that individual can, along with the I-526 petition, file a form called an I-485. The I-485 asks the U.S. government to adjust a person's visa status from non-immigrant, F student, for example, to immigrant, a green card holder. The government can't approve that I-485 until the I-526 is approved. But what the government allows you to do also is to file 2 additional forms while you're waiting for that to happen. An I-131, which gives you travel authorization, and an I-765, which gives you work authorization. So that travel and work authorization is good for the entire time it takes the USCIS to approve and issue your green card. Think for a minute about what a green card really is. It's the right to live and work and travel in and out of the United States. What are you getting with concurrent filing? You're getting those very same rights before you're getting the green card. So it's a way to get the green card benefits before you get the green card. It's a massive change in the EB-5 program and really can be a great immigration strategy for people looking for a way to stay in the United States. Now, if you are not in the U.S., if you're living here in Saigon and Vietnam, then you have to wait for the I-526 petition to be approved. And the next step is illustrated in the green box at the top, right? So there you, once your I-526 petition is approved, you start the consular processing portion of your immigration process, and that is filing a form called a DS-260. Eventually, you'll have an interview right across the street here at the U.S. consulate. It's a pretty straightforward interview. You come in, you answer some questions about your investment, you leave your passport behind, and then you get your passport back, and it has inside it a visa, an immigrant visa. Some of you may have a B visa in your passport. The immigrant visa looks similar and kind of functions in a similar way. It allows you to board a plane and fly to the US. So you have to do that as part of your consular processing. You get on a plane, you fly to New York or San Francisco, wherever you might want to go, and you'll be admitted to the US. A Customs and Border Protection agent will look at that visa, and they'll stamp that visa with something called an I-551 stamp. This is a significant stamp. It actually has legal significance because as soon as that stamp hits your visa, you become a conditional permanent resident. At that moment, you have that status. Later, the green card will be mailed to our office, and we'll check the green card for accuracy, make sure all the dates are correct, etc. And then we mail that green card to you, and it evidences the status that you got when you entered the US. So the start date of your green card is either, if you're consular processing, going to be the approval date of the I-485, or if you're adjusting status, if you're consular processing, it's going to be the date that your visa was stamped. Those data determine when you take the last step in the EB-5 immigration process, and that is filing the I-829 petition to remove the conditions on your green card. You get a conditional green card for 2 years, and then within the 90-day window of that 2-year anniversary, you file the I-829 petition. The I-829 petition really only requires you to prove one thing to the government, really 2 things. One, that you haven't been repaid. That's easy enough. The second thing is, has your I-526 investment created 10 jobs for U.S. workers? So that's the real immigration risk with the 829 is job creation. And I would encourage you to look at the aspect of this project to see the extent to which that risk is mitigated here. Once the 829 is approved, then you become a permanent resident. And as I said earlier, if you wish, you can apply to become a U.S. citizen. You should note that the time you spend in conditional residency counts towards that 5 years. You don't have to be a permanent resident in order to accrue that 5 years to seek citizenship. So that's an overview of the process. You can see I have 11 to 18 months there for the I-526 petition. I'm very happy to share that we've been receiving approvals for newly filed I-526E petitions in high unemployment areas. Last week, I think we got one in 11 months. So whether this trend continues is uncertain, but it's quite clear that USCIS is putting a lot of resources into this new iteration of the EB-5 program. This is the adjustment of status that I explained in some detail earlier. I'll just mention here also, I mentioned that it's good for F1 students. A lot of our clients are also H-1B holders. So if somebody's working in the US on an H-1B and they want to move to a new employer, that's kind of difficult at times, and filing an EB-5 petition solves that problem for them. If they're worried about being laid off by their employer, same thing. They can file an I-526 petition and very shortly thereafter have the right to continue to live and work in the United States. They don't have to worry about the H-1B visa anymore. So again, a great immigration strategy for people in a variety of situations. So as I've, I think, articulated up here today, EB-5 is a really booming industry right now. The changes that have been made by the RIA are significant. They've made the program a lot better. And I wanted to highlight a possibility that a lot of people aren't aware exists. And that is that you don't actually have to invest the full amount of the $800,000 EB-5 investment when you file the I-526 petition. So some of you may want to consider doing what we call a partial investment. You have to submit the full amount of money before the I-526 is approved. But a partial investment allows you to secure a advantageous priority date. So a priority date is the date that you file a petition. And if there's ever a waiting line that develops in EB-5 for Vietnamese nationals, and this has happened in the past, your place in that line is based on your priority date. Another way of saying that is, the better your priority date, the less time you have to wait to get your green card. So if you're really thinking about EB-5, but maybe you're not quite liquid enough yet to make an investment, perhaps you consider a partial investment to secure that advantageous priority date. You should note that if you're interested in concurrent filing, you can do that as well with a partial investment. So you could invest $200,000 or $300,000 and it almost immediately get the right to live and work in the United States. That's a pretty good deal. So I think EB-5 is a potentially great option, and I think you should consider EB-5 even if you're not quite fully funded yet. There's no doubt that the popularity of EB-5 around the world is booming. So the sooner you can get that I-526 petition filed, the sooner you can get a green card for your family. That's it for my presentation. I hope you found it informative. I'll be around after the other presentations to answer any questions you might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, lawyer, for your sharing.